following the live stream. Allow me to thank the speakers who are already on stage so that we can save time and kickstart our panel on finance, starting more or less now. Now let me introduce Giovanni Gorno, and then we have the Chief Sustainability Officer of Intesa Sanpaolo, Paola Angeletti, the President of the Cariplo and Italian Savings Banks Association, Giovanni Azzone, the President of the Italian Banking Association, Antonio Patuelli. So I think we can start immediately with Paola Angeletti, asking her to answer the question that is, if you like, the focus of this panel. How can finance help support the transition towards a sustainable economy? Well, first and foremost, allow me to thank you for this initiative and for having extended this invitation to me. Well, finance can do a lot. To answer your question, financial institutions can do a lot. They're both a passive and an active subject. As a passive subject, of course, they have to be sustainable themselves, but as an active subject, they give capitals in terms of financing and investment on those investments that can help foster and nurture a more sustainable economy. So they are, if you like, a conveyor belt, conveying good industrial practices, good economic practices. So sustainability is first and foremost economic sustainability. So we have to be confident we'll be around tomorrow and the day after to be able to speak about sustainability. So economic sustainability first, but then social, environmental, sustainability, as well as many more forms of sustainability. Good governance is a form of sustainability. So today, unfortunately, given the geopolitical predicament, it might seem that sustainability-related topics are somewhat set aside. In fact, you have to be able to read through the events and make the difference between what is temporary and what is here to stay in the long term. Climate change is a fact. It's not an opinion. So everything that can help us make investments to promote a transition towards an economy that reduces and mitigates the impact of climate change is extremely important from the point of view of sustainability, but also when it comes to adapting to climate change, everything that helps mitigate the physical risk induced by the climate change is an investment aimed at improving resilience and sustainability, including economic sustainability, long-term economic sustainability for businesses and the financial system as a whole. So sustainability is a very wide concept. Even in the United States, where this term has become sort of anathema. You can't mention this, but there's a growing number of companies and states aiming at net zero. So 27 states of the United States have decarbonization targets. On the other hand, China, that was mentioned repeatedly, China has a net zero objective for 2060. So their objectives are further away, but they are working on it, and they're working hard and efficiently on achieving those targets. So here in Europe, we don't have to set aside topics like environmental sustainability, intended as one of the levers we need in order to obtain true economic sustainability in the long term. So they're not vying against each other. These are concepts that have to go hand in hand. Yes, in fact, also this morning in the other panels, the two concepts were always considered together, not just opposed. Sustainability and competitiveness are not against each other. Together with Europe, another topic that was mentioned repeatedly in the morning was youth. Various roundtables have mentioned the issue of Italian students who are neither working nor in education. So it's, of course, a very important topic, but can you expand on why it is so important from an economic and social point of view? Well, it's so important because it touches upon two separate topics, but very close to one another. First, social. If you're not studying, getting educated, or working, it means that you don't have a target, an objective, a sense to your life. In a country like ours, where the population trend is what we tend to call the demographic winter, this also has a massive demographic impact. If young people, many young people, are not in work, are not being employed, it becomes increasingly difficult to keep the welfare state we currently have. So there's 1.4 million need in Italy, 150,000 in the region of Lombardy alone. So it's not possible just to do nothing, because we have the needs and at the same time we have jobs and we cannot find people to carry out them. So it is something we have to act upon. So what has Cariplo Foundation done? It decided to invest on this challenge, the challenge to achieve zero need, so to do away with the problem of need in our country, with 20 million euro. That's the allocation that was made. It's not a lot, but it's not too little either. So the objective is to drop that figure of need in Lombardy by at least 20,000. So putting 20,000 young people in either employment or education. It's a massive topic and nobody can solve it alone. So what do we have to do to overcome this problem with the need? Well, first of all, find them, because there's no registry of need. So it's important to work with schools, with universities, with families, proximity networks. And once you have identified them, you have to engage them, because a good part of those people are need because they tried, but they were rejected. And in this respect, involving the third sector is fundamental. We have to train and educate them. This calls for public intervention, and we have to find inclusive employment contexts that make it possible for them to start working, which is also a major change for them. So we need schools, we need the public administration, we need the third sector, we need businesses. We think that in this group of stakeholders, banking foundations can play a crucial role. First of all, because they can stimulate the initiatives, also from a financial point of view. So 20 million from us, 10 from Intesa Sanpaolo, and another 20 by the region of Lombardy. So that means the initiative was well received, because it is strategic. But then maybe we can also speak the language of many different stakeholders. It's not always easy for business to interact with NGOs or volunteer organizations or charities, whereas foundations interact with businesses, with public administrations, and also with third sector organizations as well. So that is a good starting point. What do you think is the main difficulty to be overcome in tackling the problem of those who do not study or work? Well, shifting from one category, the needs, to many individual people, each of them with specificities. Needs include people with disabilities, unaccompanied minors, people who have been expelled from the labor world, people who seem neat but in fact are caregivers within their families. So we have to identify them and not think about a one-size-fits-all solution, but direct contact with individual people. So very often I say when Amazon, just to mention one, when an electronic platform, so we don't mention anybody, asks for data, very often we don't really pay attention at what we are transmitting to them. So we would be good to have an Amazon of goodness where we can identify people in need and help them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Before, someone said that sustainability is almost a word to be avoided. So I would like to ask, is this the beginning of the end of a period in history where sustainability had become a pillar in managing businesses and companies, or is it just a specific point in time? Over to you. Well, first of all, good morning, good afternoon, rather, to everybody. First of all, to be here to speak about sustainability is particularly moving. This is the place of sustainability, and I think that we are at a crossroads when it comes to sustainability. We come from a recent past where everybody was speaking about sustainability, focusing essentially on environmental sustainability as against social sustainability, and sustainability was considered as if it could be embarked upon with no limits to the investment we could make in it. So it was something that was so beautiful to discuss, to talk about, that it was as if projects could go on and on forever, one after the other. And then we realized that that was not the case. First of all, we realized, as Paola pointed out, that sustainability is not just about the environment. It is true that extreme climate is below, before our own eyes. It's just there to be seen. It's true that it's a growing trend, but it is also true that we cannot tackle the E of environment without the S of social. So we have come to realize that there is no such thing as infinite resources. And sadly, in particular in Europe, this goes hand in hand with the proliferation of rules that have been implemented, adopted as if there was no reasonable amount. You also mentioned economic sustainability, so as if that was not the case, as if there were no limits when it came to ESG. Now the pendulum is swinging back to the opposite extreme position. So no beating around the bush. It's a fact of life that the number of financial companies, of large banking managers that have withdrawn from the Net Zero Alliance is impressive. There's no denying that green finance seemed like and something experiencing an exponential growth has not only stopped growing but has started receding. So we need to start reinterpreting the concept of sustainability, where we have a common sense pragmatism at the center. So first of all, we should maybe point out that E, S, and G are different topics, and possibly putting them together increases confusion rather than clarity. So the S is important. If we move in only one direction without thinking about the people you are leaving behind, the real risk is for the pendulum to then swing back at the opposite extremity. So I think there's a lot of important work we have to carry out today, so that we can remember that being good citizens for the companies is positive for the companies, for the businesses themselves, because it means being efficient, attracting talent, having a long-term economic model and doing so without too much ideology and too many rules avoids misunderstanding environmental sustainability or sustainability as such as a word based on compliance. President Patuelli, maybe we can use the word that has been somewhat hidden today, i.e. tariffs, which for journalists has become the buzzword, the crux of that crossroads you mentioned. The idea being that everything can be changed because there is a world economic power that exercises the use of tariffs as a leverage to obtain something. So you say tariffs, so you think recession. So the fear is that the connection between tariffs and real economy could hamper economic trends. So, Professor Patuelli, or President Patuelli rather, how important is this? Is this revolution revolving around tariffs, more structural change in paradigm? So what is your opinion? Well, good afternoon. First of all, I do not follow trends, so I tend to adopt a rational approach that avoids the two extremities of the pendulum. So the trends that led to an increasing anxiety worldwide derives from political processes. It's not economic or social. So because it is a political process, you have to look at it with distance, with a cold mind. If you're in my position, you have to analyze the situation in a rational way, going above and beyond topical, short-term political considerations. In recent times, we have seen the opposite. Everything had to be liberalized as much as it could. And there was an apology of a liberal approach. And this approach was not just ensuring there would be a free market. It meant a market without rules and without oversight. So in the United States of America, we have observed an extreme trend called anarcho-capitalism. And today, we have seen proclamations, because then suspensions arrived after 3, maximum 4 days. So what we saw was announcing the opposite of free trade, which is protectionism. But we are observing all this from a distance. The economic power of the US of A is extremely important, but it is not hegemonic. So we have to bear in mind the need to respect other people's opinions, and the fact that even when Europeans do not share them, they may lead to initiatives, economic, social initiatives, without feeding the political, economic, social, and civil conflict. There is a lot of concern, but fortunately, the political concern this side of the Atlantic is very different from that of those who are the other side of the Atlantic and have no public social protection. So they have private policies for protecting their own health, their own pensions, those who have invested in risk capital, etc. So economy, savings, the protection of civil rights in the United States is very closely connected with investments in savings. So when the stock exchange experiences a decrease, especially in the United States, it's not only happening for capitalists, but it also affects social protection. So those who set off procedures that led as a consequence to this negative emotion on the markets are triggering political consequences. So maybe we should stick to one of the three laws of Newton of dynamics, stating that every action entails an equal counter reaction. So we should be far-sighted. So sustainability and economy. Well, sustainability is synonym with far-sightedness, an ability to see the problems of the present, of the future, both the near future and the remote future, and try and be extremely far-sighted. Thank you. Okay, so let's keep calm and look ahead. Now, I'd like to ask Dr. Angeletti, what do you think about sustainability from the point of view of a bank that has made sustainability one of its pillars? Well, sustainability is one of the founding values of our bank. Intesa Sanpaolo is the outcome, the product of a merger between many different banks, each closely related and associated to their local area, with a very close relationship with its stakeholders. And one very important one is sitting here on this panel. So our culture, our values enshrine sustainability as part of our identity. And as a consequence, it is part of each of our industrial plans that we prepare every 4 years. The current one, to be completed by the end of 2025, has sustainability as one of the 4 pillars of the plan. So it is explicitly mentioned that sustainability is of fundamental importance for us. It is not seen as an aside. It's not like we deal in banking services, insurance services, asset management services, and then on the side we also do sustainability. It is not a side dish that can or cannot be present. It is integrated in our strategies, in every business line. So going back to what Tempini was saying before, sustainability may be interpreted as compliance with the rules, and that's the minimum level, if you like, compliance with the rules. But banks cannot just do that. So it's also a matter of acknowledging, identifying risks and managing them. And then there is also being proactive, grasping business opportunities, for example, for financing the various projects that would lead to a more sustainable world, with an increase in the sustainability of resources. We have heard a lot of people, of panelists speak about resources, energy sustainability. So that's integrated in our business lines. And then there's also focus to social elements, to social considerations. Society where centrifugal forces are at play, where there are growing inequalities, is an unstable society, a society where it is more difficult to operate in a productive way and with a longer-term approach. So for us, it is fundamental to support the social aspects together with our shareholders, but also with the third sector organizations, and all those businesses that want to implement socially relevant projects in order to reduce gaps, to include in the economic sphere those sectors of the population that might otherwise be excluded, in order to uh, spur and foster involvement together with Intesa Sanpaolo, with Cariplo and the savings bank. So we are part of that initiative to reduce the number of NEET in order to create a healthy economic environment where all banks and businesses can then prosper. It's interesting to notice that both in your interventions and this morning's interventions, the topic of excess rules is often associated to the fact that everything is dealt with in the same ways, with no common sense, or on the basis of fashions, trends, as President Patuelli said. No, Patuanelli. Patuanelli is a person I really respect, but it's not me. I really apologize, says the moderator, but it's been a long day already, but when it comes to this role, supporting role towards a sustainable economy, I would like to know your opinion. Now, going back to what I said before, that when it comes to sustainability, well, all of a sudden people have come to realize that the sums available for such investments are not infinite. But there is an interesting connection with an aspect that is often neglected. In order to keep on being sustainable, we have to innovate. We have to innovate, and we have to do so all around. So energy efficiency, digital efficiency, the big transitions, flexibility, circular economy, call for innovations that may lead to efficiency. And I believe that a new season of sustainability must be associated to the word innovation. And on this respect, the first thing I think I should say is that we're probably Cassa, Depositi e Prestiti, Italy's development bank, is probably the largest banking institution in Italy, and that's an innovation in and of itself. So innovation should also be seen as an instrument to smartly stimulate growth and sustainability. The second aspect I would like to highlight, it's perhaps of a more technical nature, but I will try and make it as clear as possible. When speaking about the economy and finance, very often we are talking about two aspects that have been the basis of all economic and financial considerations. Risk is associated to a yield. Now we need to add another third term, which is impact. So that means that in actual practice, when making any decision in granting credit or making an investment, there is an ex-ante analysis carried out so as to understand whether well, you're financing a given company or a project to achieve what? How would that be implemented? What are the assessment parameters that can be used in order to monitor the intervention? So there's an ex ante, the during, and the ex post, which allows to draw important lessons if things haven't gone as envisaged, and why didn't they go as envisaged. So it's important to be pragmatic when it comes to implementing sustainability measures in order to discourage behaviors that are not in line with this vision of good citizenship, and at the same time incentivize good approaches and attitudes. For example, today there's a lot of talk about defense. Our policy on defense, which was a taboo topic at the time, is something we defined many years ago. So what does it mean to finance defense? We never stopped supporting defense, but we set ourselves parameters to identify the interlocutors and the instruments. It goes without saying that there are some topics that are taboo because that's what the international conventions say. But on the other hand, speaking of defense has always been fundamental for any country, for any democracy. Today, many development banks come and see us to ask us, what are the rules you have defined for yourselves? So the pragmatic approach I mentioned in my first intervention is the way wherefore the pendulum has to be at the center without the ideologies of the past and without any excesses to the other side, as we are catching a glimpse of at this point. Thank you very much. Now, philanthropy for foundations, this is a very important term, but that may also be implemented in the economy. Well, let's bear in mind that the third sector charities are also major employers. I was in the past, the president of the ACRI, and what I can tell you is that there is no area of need in society that is not the focus of the attention of some association, foundation, etc. Now, there may be individuals, families who have experienced particularly traumatic experiences in their lives, but these associations are what make it possible for a country like ours to have a united society despite the many crises, etc. It would be much worse if there were no third sector and volunteers and voluntary organizations, but they also need resources. We know that about 3/4 of third sector organizations are part funded by banking foundations. And what do these banking foundations do? Well, they are like an accelerator of community. Thinking of Cariplo Foundation, these initiatives date back to 200 years ago. So the resources we're using now are what was then made available to help support the community, and we're using them operating on two fronts, supporting the birth and growth of local development to generate new resources and to promote social cohesion. Two elements that go hand in hand. Before we mentioned that E, S, and G sometimes juxtaposed, whereas local development and social cohesion go hand in hand. In the absence of economic development, in the absence of resources, society will not work. But if there is no social cohesion, it won't work either. So the 57 banking foundations provide just a little more than €1 billion every year. Just think what our society would be without this €1 billion and without these third sector and charitable organizations not being part of the picture. May I, if I may add something, because innovation also has to do with the third sector and the CDP Foundation, which is part of ACRI. So President Azzone is also my president in this capacity. So together with Intesa Sanpaolo has recently launched a call for proposals for innovative startups in the third sector. So we're very curious to see what the outcome will be. Well, we will speak about innovation later with the Minister for University and Scientific Research. So President Patuelli, the Italian banking sector in recent years has proven it can be very sound. Even in Europe, it has shown that it can manage resources better than was thought in the past. So what is the next challenge for the banking sector? People say consolidation in Italian and abroad. Others think it is the new era of new rates, technology, innovation, which is also very vibrant in the banking sector. So maybe you can share with us your opinions on the next big challenge for the Italian banking sector. Well, I will definitely not say anything about issues connected with the market, where the president of the Italian Banking Association is a distant observer that has no voice on any aspects of the procedure. So the challenges we are facing are, first and foremost, the market. When faced with changes in the market during the evening, eastwards, then our days become fraught with question marks. The second challenge is to work with rates that are even lower than the ones we've had in the past. Even lower, because Italian banks were used to working with rates that were multiples of the ones applied to the euro. So when someone in the past said rates are very high, well, the high euro rates were matched by lower rates with the lira. So today, rates are extremely low. So the main challenge is to support qualified and sustainable development. This is the crux. So we have to support investments. The problem is that investments are made in a context of mid-long-term stability. The current international situation is not one of stability, so it is even more important that in Italy and in Europe, the legal framework provides certainty, legal certainty. That's the first thing, because we cannot add uncertainty of Italian and European law to the overall prevailing uncertainty worldwide. And the second thing would be to relinquish an approach based on mere finance. Italian banks are the ones least focusing on finance, because in Europe they are the ones which invest more to support families and businesses. So how can we promote even more productive investments on businesses? Well, we have to encourage businesses to invest more of their money, and we have also to invite families to invest more on assets that are productive assets, economic assets. So we need to implement positive tax policies. The latest budget law was positive in promoting investments by companies, by businesses, but many experts are saying that actually using that money is more complicated. So maybe simpler mechanisms should be developed, maybe going back to the old transparent tools of what used to be the ACE. And at the same time, we should stimulate families to invest more in productive assets. I'm very much in favor of the state inviting investors to invest on state bonds and sticking with them for at least 5 years by means of incentives. Well, the same incentive should be given to investors who invest in productive businesses, not as a short-term investment aimed at speculating, but we have to envisage different taxation on speculation and on investments, on entrepreneurs who invest and on citizens who also invest in the long term. I would like to finish by mentioning Article 47 of the Constitution, which says the Republic protects savings. It doesn't say the Republic protects at the same time savings and speculation. So maybe we should differentiate taxation for investments and for those who do trading maybe in 1 second or little more. Thank you very much, President, because now we have a positive surprise. The panel was extremely interesting. So now the Minister for University and Scientific Research has asked to participate, and of course, we are only too happy to see that happen.
Ah, ok. No, contrordine, il colpo di scena
Sorry, apologies. So she will participate